Hi, everyone. Welcome to Restitch America. My name is Ohene-Opare, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. This is episode number 5 of the show. And today I have a very special treat for you. So all of you remember exactly what happened on October 7th in Israel. There was a terrorist attack, and that has forced Israel now to launch a war which has been described as a war to dismantle and destroy Hamas. And this has caused a lot of political uproar all over the world. We're seeing demonstrations all over the place. We've had people, chanting "Free Palestine." We have all sorts of things going on, even on our college campuses. And it has revealed something that I think has been lurking under the surface. This kind of veiled anti-Semitism that I think has always existed, was never eradicated, and now is rearing its ugly head all over the place. And as I have been navigating these few weeks, I had the opportunity to communicate with one of the soldiers who now has to join the fight to defeat Hamas. And so today I'm bringing you the perspective from the front lines. These are the people who actually have to defend their country. And I know in America, we talk a lot about defending our country, but a lot of times we're usually going overseas to, stop the threats. And usually the threats don't come to our doorstep. In the case of Israel, the threat is right next door. And because of that threat, they have to do certain things that in some cases people look at and may have questions about. But the question is, what do you do to defend your family? What do you do to defend your right to exist? And that is what I'm hoping we can talk about today. So today, I'm excited to introduce you to a new friend of mine. And how do I say your name? Is this Shemtov?
Shemtov, yeah. The meaning in Hebrew is good name. So you can call me good name or Shemtov, either works.
Good name, Shemtov. Okay, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. And thank you so much for coming on to our podcast here, Restitch America. So let's begin by having you just tell us, how did you wake up on the morning of October 7th? And what was the feeling like when you learned about what had happened?
So I remember it was like 6:30 exactly in the morning. And I was kind of like woke up from like an alarm sound. First of all, I thought it was like, okay, maybe it's an ambulance, but then it sounds like different. And I was telling my girlfriend, like, can you check the phone? Like, there is something happening. And then when she opened the phone, we literally noticed that we are under attack. Like, literally, my missiles are like above our head. So we woke up, we ran right to the shelter to hide. Unfortunately, my girlfriend has kind of like bad memories from 2014 from a protective edge. When she was at home and she was more younger, Israel got bombed as well because it was another operation, another war, and she had like kind of a panic attack, and I had to calm her down and take care of her. And at the same time, in my mind, like the idea of me going back to the army is like it's there, it's like realistic, like they're gonna call me any second because that's what's going on usually when we have big operations or wars. And then 2 hours after, I got the call from my commander that we have to get back. I'm serving in the ground forces of the IDF. We are specializing in the counter-terrorist area. And I remember myself like telling her bye, like drove all the way to her family, left her there so she can be protected and like, taken care by the family. And then I drove back to the unit. I remember like thousands of soldiers leaving everything back home, little kids, wives that are pregnant, leaving work, like literally everything to come and, help the country and protect it. And we got their gear, and then we've been shipped out to the West Bank because this is where we usually, like my unit, specialized in. And then like a lot of unknown, a lot of like stuff that we don't understand that is really going on right now as we speak. Like back in the day, this Saturday, we start getting like videos of people slaughtered, like in near the border. We saw like videos of soldiers like getting shot, and then like people stepping on them, like, you know, terrorists stepping on them. I don't want to call them people because for me they are not. And I see like videos of like them shouting and chanting with their like AK-47s. I keep getting like videos from the music festival, literally 5,000 people that came to, like, you know, free spirits, like, you know, to just chill for the weekend, from all the week stress, you know, from work, or some of them for the kids and stuff like that. And you literally see videos of them getting slaughtered. And this is just like the beginning of the Saturday. If I'm going like a little bit forward, we keep getting like videos and videos like during the week of like horror. It's literally horror movies. Like I'm hearing more and more stories and seeing more and more videos of like babies like that are like ashes, and I see like old ladies getting kidnapped, and that's something that I couldn't realize. I was like kind of in shock. I never engaged in that kind of evil in my life. Like that's something that I never saw. I couldn't imagine, even if the best horror movie that I saw, I never kind of imagined people doing that like in real life. That was like, for me, it was a shocking event. The feeling that I had at the same time, it was kind of like anger, combining with like stress and confusing. Like I was confused about what's going on here. Like, where are we going with that? And so that's kind of the feeling that I had in this Saturday.
Wow. And it's a little crazy how real this is for you and for many of us who are, say, here in the United States or in Europe. We look at these things secondhand, right? We don't really experience it in the way that you are describing here, because for you, you are looking at this as, these are my family members, these are my friends, these are my neighbors, these are people that I may be related to, these are people who, you know, were not armed, these are people who were not engaged in any way in any kind of aggression towards Hamas or towards Palestinians. Maybe in there, in that concert, there may have been people who believed that, you know, Palestine should be free, or whatever the case may be. The fact that it was completely indiscriminate, right? The fact that they didn't care who was there, it was just an order to murder and butcher and commit, you know, atrocities against these people without regard to who they are, what they believe, and so on and so forth. That's the depravity that I think a lot of people are looking to kind of sweep under the rug, right? And I see that's what is happening across the country here. Because when I hear people talk about it, they talk about the retaliation, they talk about, you know, people dying on the other side, but they don't want to focus on what instigated the whole thing, right? If Hamas did not enter Israel and commit this atrocity, there will be no war right now, right? That is something that should be clear and should be explicit, and we need to be able to shout that message from the rooftop. So I want to continue this discussion into what do you believe is the goal for this operation? What does success look like?
So I want to go I want to refer what you just said, like, you know, this in this last minute. First of all, I did have friends, like good friends of mine that were in this festival. And I want to mention one of them in his memory. His name is Ben. He was a good friend of mine and also worked for my company. And unfortunately, he got slaughtered at the festival. We saw his last photo hiding in the sewer pipe. You know what I mean? Like in the pipe, he took a selfie for his mom. And a couple of days after, they found his phone on the ground. And a week after, we all got the message that he got slaughtered at the party. but they couldn't recognize him because they butchered the body. So they had to take like a DNA test to understand who is the guy like that they found there, like who is the body. And other than that, I have a friend that lived near the border, and he had to rescue his wife and went back to fight. And unfortunately, he also got injured. He got shot in his shoulder. And because he's driven and he understood that we are fighting for our home, he literally left the hospital still injured to keep fighting because he knew that it's now or never. Like, if they're going to conquer us, it's going to be for good. And for your question about they didn't really discriminate who is like in the festival. So I want to tell you this, the people that live near the border, most of them are in favor of the solution of two countries.
Two states. Mm-hmm.
Most of them are like, the solution for the two states for like, two like, the Palestinians and the Israelis. And I'm not going to say it's the saddest part that they were in favor of them and they want to help them. And eventually what happened? They got butchered and they got like kidnapped into the Gaza Strip. We have like 240 people that still out there kidnapped by those terrorists to Gaza, and nobody knows what's going on there. They have like their loved ones over here. They have like everybody's here worried, doesn't know what's going on over there. They just know that there is a chance that they will never see their loved ones again. And like, living with this feeling, it's not something that I'm wish even to my enemies. And something that people probably doesn't know out there in the world, that there was like the old lady that got a charge from Hamas. She was also a U.S. citizen, but some like people doesn't know that her job in the real world is to help the connection between Shifa Hospital and the hospitals in Israel, delivering babies in hard cases, like scenarios of like heart conditions, or some operations that they cannot perform in Shifa, and they deliver those people to Israel to get treated by us, So, and nobody's going to say it because it's a fashion to hate the Jews. It's fashion to hate the Israelis because we are the face of the evil. But nobody speak about those little actions that eventually they are big for those specific families that they are in Gaza and they don't know what to expect for their baby's life because they don't have the gear over there. Because we're going to talk about it probably later on. The money is not going to the hospital, it's going for other stuff. And this lady literally got kidnapped and tortured over there, and she's like telling about it. And eventually what she do for the humanity, like human life, and for the Palestinians, she helping them get their life back, get better in our hospitals and shipping them back. And she's the coordinator. And those kind of elite study, they don't understand that they are literally harm themselves and they harm their relations with us. That's what I want to say about that. Sorry, what was the other question? I will get into the.
Yeah, I was saying, what do you believe is the goal of the operation, and what does success look like?
So the goal will be probably to finish the era of Hamas, because Hamas is a terrorist organization. And eventually people in the world doesn't see them as like that, because as you said, they are not living the moment with us right now here. So they don't see the operations during the years. Some of them say that, Lord, in the West Bank, they don't have Hamas. They do have Hamas supporters there, and they do have Hamas terrorists over there. They are both, also in Gaza and also in the Palestinian Authority. But of course, it's easy to, as you said, put it under the carpet, so nobody gonna talk about it because they don't care. They do want to focus on what Israel does, and they really forget easy what happened to us in 7th of October. So I guess it will be the main goal will be to free Palestine from Hamas. And I guess that success gonna be that we don't hear about them anymore. That's what success looks to me. Of course, I'm only speak about on behalf of myself, because eventually it's going to impact the world as well. Right now, it's just the beginning. It's their first step. Israel is the first step, but we're going to see it escalating in Europe and in the US and all of Asia. It's just a matter of time until it will happen. So we are kind of the ambassadors of the light, you know, in terms of like helping the world get rid of organization that is the same thing as ISIS.
And thank you for sharing that. A lot of people have mischaracterized the operation as genocide or as ethnic cleansing or something to that effect. And personally, I know that that is a misnomer. I know that that is a misdirection. I know that, you know, Israel always gets the blame for some reason. And the way that I look at it is if, and this was very interesting to me, if Israel is attacked, why are Jews in America afraid to go to Shabbat or to go to the temple? Like if Jews or Israel is attacked in Palestine or in Israel, why is it that, you know, Jews in Germany or Jews in Russia or Jews in Australia feel threatened? What that tells me is that this is not about Israel or land, right? And I think that's what the West pretends they don't know, but they know that this is not about land. This is not about occupation or apartheid. This is about a disdain that this group of people have for Jews, not because of a country, but because they're Jews. And this anti-Semitism has existed for generations. And we thought, you know, with the defeat of the Nazis, this was, you know, coming down. And now we've realized that it's almost like there are sleeper cells of anti-Semitism all over the world. And today, their spokespeople are Hamas. And Hamas is the bearer of that anti-Semitism because they are the ones who are taking that to the next level and actually implementing their anti-Semitism in the form of actually slaughtering Jews. And so I just wanted to express the fact that it is very clear to me that this has nothing to do with land, because if it had everything to do with land, then what you would expect is a government will be doing everything it can in terms of using its resources to better its people, and then empower those people to have the negotiations that are necessary to gain that political power and eventually gain that independence. But that's not what they're doing. Currently, today, right, people are talking about humanitarian issues in Gaza. However, we're being told that Israel is the one that is preventing fuel and electricity and food and so on and so forth. And yet we know through reports that Hamas has a stockpile of fuel, a stockpile of, you know, supplies, and they are not willing to use that to benefit their people. We've had Hamas leaders actually on camera say that the responsibility to care for those people is not on them, but it's on the UN. And so we know what Hamas is their charter says. We know exactly what their goal is. And it seems like the West is pretending as if that is not the issue, and the real issue is about some piece of land that needs to be divided a little better, right? How do you feel when you hear those kinds of arguments coming from people in the West, especially in America?
So first of all, it made me kind of laugh about it because as human beings, we always found excuses. Always. We always are trying to find the excuse for why this happened, why that happened. And eventually, I want to take you back a little bit to the history. If I'm going to 47, 48, yeah, if they want to speak about the lands, yeah, 47, 48, we got the declaration about the Israeli state. We offered the Palestinians half of the size of the country, like to get their own, own country. They denied it. They didn't want it. I'm going forward to 1967, Yom Kippur fight. Everybody trying to conquer us. Jordan, Egypt, like everybody fought us. Yeah. Eventually, we thanks God and thanks our the army, we stayed alive and we conquered them back. And then what we did as a kind of like an occupation thing, yeah, we didn't kept those lands for us. We gave back Jordan their land in return for a peace agreement. We gave them Egypt, Sinai, and also Gaza, by the way, for a peace agreement. So our kind of work wasn't to conquer and conquer and conquer again bigger. It was only to live here in peace, because there were like around 22 Muslim countries and only one Jewish country. And by the way, the Egyptians, when we got them back Gaza, they didn't want it. They took only Sinai with them. They didn't want anything to do with the Gaza Strip. And going forward, let's go to around 9,000. It was 9,093. Yeah, 9,093 to 9,095. It was the Oslo agreements. So during the war, you know, we got those kind of lands that we conquered and stayed there to keep us safe from getting attacked again in the area of the West Bank. And when the Oslo agreement signed up, we gave them back, you know, the major cities, Jenin, Shem, and all of those. We gave it back to the Palestinian Authority. What happened the day after? We got suicide bombers in Israel, you know, blowing like, what is it called? Like buses and cars. And then I'm going a little bit forward. Let's go to 2005. Yeah, we conquered Gaza again after a war because they attacked us. We gave the key to the Palestinian Authority. We told them, guys, we leave it to you guys. Build the country. We are going back. We took out all the Israelis that have been there. And guess what happened the day after? Missiles above our head. So the money that they are getting, yeah, from the UN and from donations from all over, is not going to build an appropriate country. It's going to terror. It's going to, they can lie as much as they want that they are defending themselves. Nobody is attacking them without a reason. Like eventually, if I'm going to the term IDF, it's Israel Defense Forces, not Israel Attack Forces. So we are not going to engage anyone without any reason to do that. And when, like, you know, when we gave the Palestinian Authority in 2005 the key to the Gaza Strip, what eventually happened in 2006, that Hamas got elected by the civilians to rule there. And right now, I guess that they are paying for their mistake, because Hamas took over, like the Nazis in like, you know, in World War II, they elected them in democracy, but eventually we saw where it goes. And this is exactly the same patterns that we see right here, and about the Eid that you are speaking about. So think about it. Which countries supply those kind of stuff to their enemies? Like, we supply them water, food, electricity, hospital taking care. You know that Yahya Sinwar had a tumor in his head. And you know who take care of him and who helped him with the surgery? The Israelis. And now we are paying for our mistakes, because right now this guy is in the head of Hamas, bombing us and slaughter our people. And eventually, why? Because we're human beings, because we are, in our belief and in our ideology, is help people and love them, and not like attack them and slaughter them for no reason, because they are Muslim, Christians, Indians, or whatever. And right now, you know, you are in a war. So eventually, when you're in war, you don't help your enemy anymore. So that's why we shut down everything. And then to help the Palestinians not getting bombed, and like, you know, this is only one of the stuff that we did, one of our action. We literally opened everything again, like the water supply and everything, from the south, so they can leave the north, because we knew that Hamas's bases there, like in a lot of places over there. So we want to kind of like, you know, taking care of this area. So we open all the Eid in the south, so they can go there. But again, what country gonna do it to their enemy? Like, you know, helping them evacuate the innocent people and not just attacking without any warning. That's what's going on in a war usually. You don't see any other army knocking on roofs, you know, and like spreading flyers that in the day after we're gonna bomb. Like, who does the thing? Because we're warning the civilians, but at the same time, we are warning those terrorists who are trying to kill us. But that's because we are humans, and we wanted to minor the casualties. That's why we tell them, guys, please, like, we don't want to bump you. We know that you're guys, I don't know what is the percent, but a lot of you are innocent and you probably don't want to be in this war, but you get conquered by a terrorist organization, so you don't have much to do. That's why we're telling you, you have 24 hours to evacuate yourself, because in the next building or the same building as you, there are terrorists that need to be eliminated, because eventually they are threatening your life and our life. And, I don't want to die. Like, I want to keep going. And open this, this Eid for us, it's a humanitarian action. We don't have to do it. We don't have to open the border for these 100 trucks to get in and give this Eid to the Palestinian. We don't have to, because eventually, by definition, they are our enemies, by their definition. Yeah. Right now, unfortunately, by us as well. We don't have to do it, but we still do it because we do want to help them. And, it's not funny, but I saw a video like little couple of minutes before I went with you to the podcast of someone from Gaza, like a Palestinian, taking a video of like the trucks coming, and you're hearing like screaming voices, and then you see like hundreds of like terrorists with AK-47 in their hands and like shields going on like those trucks and like robber them. And this is from a Palestinian camera. It's not from Israel. You see like a civilian taking video of it. So the Eid is not really coming for the Palestinian civilians. It's going to Hamas. And in the world, Hamas looks like the heroes because they are protecting the civilian. What the world doesn't know or don't want to understand, don't want to support or understand, because eventually I know that most of them do know this fact. But because we are Jewish or Israeli or whatever, they kind of like, again, as you said, put it under the carpet because it's easy. It's Israel. We can blame it on Israel and the world going to see it. And then we're going to eventually have our own, support from the people. And the problem here, it's not Israel, it's not Zionism, it's not lands, it's not nothing. It's an ideology. And I think the ideology is the most dangerous thing, ideology and faith. Because eventually when ideology combine with the faith and you get planted with an idea in your head, that's the most dangerous people ever. And we can see it right now. So ideology is all over the world. You can see that spreading around in the colleges and in like major cities in England, like in London, that people screaming and shouting like death to the Jews. And the war is not with the Jews in America. It's not in the Jews in London. It's basically Israelis. But who cares? I can shout stuff because my ideology said that everybody are bad and we are the chosen one or whatever they choose to call themselves.
All right. So one question that I received from one of my followers was to ask you, how do you personally, but people in the IDF generally feel about Palestinians? And I'm not talking about Hamas. I'm talking about just your feelings towards Palestinians and whether you believe that they have a legitimate desire for peace as Palestinians, or whether you feel that the ideology of Hamas is so embedded among the Palestinian civilians themselves that, a chance for peace may not be possible.
So I'm optimistic person and I'm also a positive person. In my civilian life, I'm a nurse. And also I'm working in a startup that we're in the medicine. It's like a kind of a sports and medicine device that help people recover better from their injuries and stuff. So I have a lot of engagement with Palestinians. We have 2 million Arabic people live side by side with us, working together with me in the hospital. We are like literally good friends. We are working out together. We are going out together. That's like we spreading, when we have holidays, so we bring our food to the hospital and we share it all together. And when they have their holidays, so they bring our food, during the Ramadan, when they're fasting, we do not eat beside them so they can have the best time, doing the Ramadan without any interference or maybe like the will to eat, because we are, we care. We care about them and we love each other. I'm telling you that. I can't say that all the 2 millions loved us, but I can say that there are a lot of great people out there that do believe the coexistence, as I told you right now that I'm working with them together. So I can speak on behalf of myself. I won't count the entire army, But I can tell you that a lot of the people in the army do believe in coexistence. Eventually, again, we live in the same cities. We got Harish, we got Akko, we got Lod, we got Ramle. Arabic and Israeli Jewish like live side by side together. And so I do see a positive solution for for this kind of conflict. But the thing that concerns me a lot, I guess that you heard it as well, is that when I hear the chanting of death to the Jews or death to Israel, or the most most strong one that kind of like little bit make me pessimistic about it, it's from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And when they're speaking about river, they're speaking from the Jordan River that is in the east of Israel, and to the sea is the Mediterranean Sea. That means that Israel is not count in their plans. That means that they're in mind, they're not into the solution country, the two solution states. And that's what concerned me about their action and their will and what is going to happen, and a lot of people are in the same mindset as me. Right now, I can say that I guess that a lot of people got pessimistic because of the terror attack and because of the action and the behavior of people around the world, especially in Gaza, in the West Bank, and a lot of other people, places that we saw them chanting for this kind of active. The action that the Hamas did in the 7th of October, we saw people chanting and they spread, they walked in the street, shouting and video themselves to their TikToks and giving away candies just because literally Israel got armed. So eventually, when you're looking at this from, a little bit from above, is there even a will for a two-state solution? Or for them, it's just a saying, and when they have the opportunity, they're going to slaughter us, So it's really hard to say.
This has been really enlightening for me, and it's been really great to hear your perspective. So what I would like to do for the remainder of the show here is to go into the video I posted yesterday. I asked a few people to give me some questions that I should ask you. And I know that you can't, give details on everything. But what I'm going to do is I selected a few of these questions that I'm going to ask you. And then my goal is for you to answer to the best of your ability. And then we'll wrap up with that. So let's begin. I'm going to just open up the comments here, and I'm going to read them directly to you. So here's a comment from someone who says here, what are your orders when it comes to avoiding civilian deaths? The world currently thinks Jews are bloodthirsty. When our army carefully trains its soldiers to avoid casualties better than all other armies throughout history, also the ethnic groups represented at their base. So this person wants to know one. So the first part is, what are your orders when it comes to avoiding civilian deaths? And then this person is saying, it appears the world sees Jews currently as bloodthirsty, and they're asking if you have soldiers who are trained to avoid civilian casualties, what are you doing to avoid those things?
So it's basically the same question, kind of, but in different words. So I can tell you that, first of all the soldiers are trying to prevent casualties, all of them. I don't know what you see in the news and stuff like that. I can tell you that in the ethnic of IDF, we have literally orders of saying to do not kill, to do not kill innocent people. And how we prevent it? What are the orders? So let's say that it's called an arrest. I forgot, I don't know how to say it in English, but eventually the action is that you first of all, let's say, for example, that, I don't know, you come to me and I don't recognize your face and you're coming from an hostile territory. First of all, I would try to understand who you are by talking to you, even if it's in Arabic, English, whatever, to prevent, because eventually I can shout in Hebrew, but the other person won't understand. That's why we do shout it in Arabic. And sometimes when we know that there are probably some, I don't know, foreigners, you know, like in the West Bank, in Ramallah, for example, there are a lot of foreigners live there and do not speak the language, like the local language. So we do shout it in English as well, just to prevent, just so that we make sure that they understand that they are like in a danger spot, that they are like going in a place that they cannot be. After we shouting it like 2 or 3 times to make sure that they heard what we're saying, you know, eventually we have also eye contact most of the time. I'm speaking about like meters away, not someone that is like 20 or 40 meters away and he's coming like to approach us. We're not shouting. We just wait to see what his actions. I'm speaking like meters away. After that, what's going on usually, if he's not complying and he's keep going, we will do a shot in the air, just to clarify that, you know, he can be also deaf. I'm going to the like worst case scenario. Yeah. And eventually when people waving to you and like doing stuff, you're going to look at them and stop for a second. You know, it's not like, I'm taking the worst case scenario so people will understand what is the procedure that we're doing to prevent those kind of stuff. And I will tell you a little story of myself. And then, you know, if they are keep coming and they're trying to threat you, you were first of all go back again to try to eliminate the thing that you have to shoot. And after that, if he's like, I don't know, running to you and aiming, so you have to do what you have to do. But you have a lot of steps before you are going into this part. And I can tell you from a personal story, I've been part of Protective Edge. And when I was out there, I remember because let's say I had a lack of sleep those nights after that, and a year after, unfortunately. I remember this grandma wearing white, like all of her. She was white completely, and she came with a white flag. You know, in terms like she came through us. We were in Gaza, and she came to us, and she went with white flag. We shouted on her to stop, don't keep going. And eventually, when she stopped and she came with the white flag, we told her to like kind of like open it's not a jacket, it was like a white, I don't know how to say it in English, like not a coat, but kind of a you know, a wearable thing. And when she opened it, we literally saw a string of C4 all over her body. So it's really hard, you know, when you see an old lady with this, and then you try to really like stop innocent, stop from like shooting by mistake innocents or minor the casualties, and you see something like that, it's like kind of like, you know, taking the breath off of your, like, you know, lungs. You're like, you're really capable of doing this kind of thing. And we still, with that, stopped her. We had like people that are specialized in like defusing bombs, went to her, defused the bombs, and we took her to us to like understand why, like what did she do? And she said that they made her do it. You know what I mean? That's the kind of things, and people probably gonna say now he's imagining it, or he's probably doing it for the podcast. But guys, this is a real story, and it took a really long time for me to get over to see someone that she's at the same age as my grandma going with C4 because they made her do it. That's the thing that the people do not understand about how unhuman like this organization is. So eventually, in terms of like, you know, trying to minor the casualties on one-on-one, I'm saying like that's what we spoke as a soldier. We do have those procedures until we are getting to a way that you don't have something.
You run out of options.
You're running out of options. Yeah, you don't want to engage this old lady bombing on you because you've been a human being. So exactly. You have to make the difference and put the line out there that if they cross it, you don't have they didn't let you have another option, another choice.
Thank you for sharing that. So the next question I'm going to ask here is this. It says, this person says, I want to know how Hamas got in and then back with hostages without getting detected. Did they have help? And then he also says, I also want to know if IDF knows where the hostages are and whether they can get them free.
So first of all, about what happened the 7th of October, this is the kind of stuff that the country can give answer to. so I don't really have the answers to supply, to be honest. So this is something that I guess that we both need to wait to see after with God's will, the war will over. And about the also who is in charge of all of this. So again, it's also a country that need to answer it. So I don't want to raise my opinion, because it's not going to be fair for the audience.
Okay.
So I do want it to our country and our government to answer those questions. And about the hostages, so unfortunately, if we knew where they are, they're probably gonna get back to us before we had to escalate the situation. So unfortunately, 240 are still out there, babies, elders, women, soldiers, like a lot, like diverse community. And it's really sad to think about that babies needs to experience kidnapped when they are literally 1 year old. That's insane act to do. Like, I think the most, and I don't know, stop me if it's not, if it's too much, but I think the most crazy story that I got, that I unfortunately also saw, because I'm a nurse and I'm into the hospital, so we have the connections to get involved with the scenario, is the pregnant woman that got stabbed in her stomach and cut it, and they literally shot I don't even call it a newborn. It was like a literally infant, how do you say it? Like
Fetus,
infant,
yeah.
right? Like they really shot him, and then they shot the woman, and then the dad. This is something that even the most craziest producer ever in Hollywood didn't even thought about an idea like that. And seeing those photos, and of course you guys probably didn't saw all of those videos and photos, and you have speculations about it. It's because we are not animals. We're not gonna share with the world those kind of photos and getting people to have PTSD or bad dreams at night of them thinking about even seeing like a baby that got burned to ashes, because we are not that animal. We are not going to use those stuff out of the respect for those people who got slaughtered, and also because we don't want to harm you guys out there to see those kind of things on your screen and share it to the whole world, and probably cause a lot of PTSDs out there to people to watch these things. So yeah, that's for me was I don't know, one of the most, I think the most.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Someone here, this is not a question. It says, send them our love and prayers, wish for them to come back in peace, uninjured, and to stay safe. So that was a really good message there. Next question. People have asked, and this question has come up a lot. They're like, why are you bombing, West Bank when there's no Hamas there? And I know you said that in the beginning, that Hamas is in West Bank. They may not control the government in West Bank, but they are still there. So is there an order to fight on all ends? Are we fighting with, the people in the West Bank and Hamas? What is the situation there with respect to the West Bank versus Gaza?
So first of all, two different use cases, I will call it. I hope it's the right phrase to say, but Gaza is one thing, and the West Bank, although they have both Hamas terrorists and supporters there, they're different things. Because in Gaza, the one who run the government is Hamas. In the West Bank, we got the Palestinian Authority, that they are not the best, but they are something. Eventually they do cooperate in some way, and so we do not it's not the same as Gaza. We do not bomb there. Of course there are stuff that I can't really answer, because I'm not the head of the IDF. I can tell you about the stuff I'm doing, and I'm a lot in the West Bank right now as well. I'm in a reserve, and we do not have an order to bomb or anything like that. We do have a specific missions to get bad people. We call it that, as simple as that. Those bad people who has influence on other like, other youngsters that want to be part of the resistance or whatever they're calling about it. And we do arrest those people quietly and without collateral damages most of the time, unless we feel that, like, I don't know, someone coming with a Molotov, so you won't just stand there and tell him, come to me, I will just absorb it. But we do focus on minor the casualties, going for specific, but the West Bank is less dangerous, maybe in a
Less of
couple
a
of
threat
percent, yeah, not
right now.
yeah, right now than Gaza. Gaza, it's different story, and again, in the West Bank, it's maybe by less percent, not the big difference. It's still, for Israelis going in there, like, that's a death wish. You go there, you're not coming back. You're probably gonna be or in the ground or as an hostage. But again, it's different situation, different scenario.
Okay. Another question here, and we've heard all over the world, people, even the UN, Secretary General, call for ceasefire. And so someone asked the question, can we try a ceasefire? And then if Hamas doesn't abide by the rules, then go back and then take them out. So people are asking, why don't we do a ceasefire, see if they're going to negotiate, see if they're going to release the hostages, and then maybe we can avoid more civilian casualty.
So ceasefire is right now not on the line, and there are a couple of reasons. One, you're not negotiating with terrorists, as nobody does in the world. The US, Europe, nobody's supposed to negotiate with terrorists. That's one. Second, I can tell you from our let's say crowd history, that even we are doing ceasefire, they're still shooting missiles, and then they're, sorry, my bad, it was like a personal shooting from someone. So it's kind of, you're playing with little kids, you know what I mean? Like, you tell them, listen, fine, and then you are getting, hurt for it. And eventually, when you do ceasefire with people like this, what do you think you're going to do in the ceasefire? They're going to build a new country. They're going to rebuild their homes, rebuild their kindergartens, their schools. They're going to, I don't know, give a better future to the citizens. They're not. They're going to build new bombs. They're going to arm their terrorists. They're going to gather a lot of aid from those trucks that are there. They're going to stole everything to themselves so they can be ready for the next attack. That's what happened with us with Hezbollah. Eventually, they were like almost vanished, and then Nasrallah asked for a ceasefire. And because we are living by the Western values, we accept it. And what's going on right now? Nasrallah and Hezbollah is shooting like rockets all over the north of Israel right now. And they're ready to attack us together with Iran. So what did we have, what do we get from those ceasefire? Absolutely nothing.
Basically, a ceasefire just shoots yourself in the foot. Right?
Exactly. And eventually those guys, like Yahya Sinwar well said, if you want the hostages back, release all the prisoners, all the terrorists that in Israel, release them back to Gaza. Sounds like a fair deal to you? Release all those armed force again to the Gaza so they can attack us again? There is no any sense in making ceasefire right now. Unfortunately, with all the respect, I don't want to right now. Thanks God I got back for a couple of hours to see the family and my girlfriend. So right now I'm in a shelter because we're still getting bombed from Gaza. So I'm speaking to you so we don't have any interference, and I'm going to be here anyway. And I forgot what I want to say, because of what I get into kind of emotional about it.
A ceasefire, we're basically saying a ceasefire is not, it's not something, it basically allows the enemy to rearm up, resupply, and then turn back. And just like you said, their offer for, releasing the hostages is a non-starter. There's nobody in the world that will accept such an offer. Like, it's no other country in the world that will accept such an offer. So I think it's asinine for anyone to consider that. And because of what they've done, I feel like you can't, it's almost like saying, hey, there's a serial killer who is living next to your house, and that serial killer just came in and killed two of your children, and they're saying, oh no, you should leave them to still stay next to your house because they're going to promise not to come back and kill your children. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't expect that America would do that. I don't expect that, Australia, Canada, even any country in Africa would do that. And so why are we asking Israel to do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. All right. I know we're going a little over time here, but I wanted to ask you one last question. How can we help? How can we help is one of the questions someone asked.
So I tell you what, and I'm gonna refer it to the general population, not Jews, not Muslims, not only Christians, general. Guys, we are in difficult situation right now. We are in a huge conflict that just got opened up to the world, and we are in front of World War III. And us as people, we have to behave, we have to be the best version of ourselves. I seeing those videos out there on the social media, a lot of fake news, a lot of propagandas that are being out there and making people believe that they're I'm speaking about right now as an Israeli, believe that we are the face of the evil and we are only doing bad stuff and we're not human beings because we're doing a genocide, which I don't think that's what's going on out there. Be the best version of yourself. Don't believe anything that you see on the social media. Investigate before you're blaming anyone. Hear a couple of opinions. Don't be, don't go in one direction and that's what I've been told and I saw this article and that's how I should operate. Read a couple of articles. Listen to a couple of people. Listen even to the opposite of your mindset. Listen, I don't know, if you're, for example, Muslim, listen to a Jewish. If you're Jewish, listen to a Muslim. Try to figure out how to not be manipulate, but only one opinion of, I don't know, an influencer or a newspaper or the TV or anything. Investigate before you're blaming or before you're going to conclusions. And stop with the hate all over. Muslim, Jewish, doesn't matter. Stop with this hate on the social media. I see a lot of people writing down some really racist stuff from both sides. And I guess that we will have to stop that because eventually it's going to harm for the two sides to walk not freely everywhere. And I'm speaking as an Israeli right now, as a Jewish person. I'm also a big person, so I'm not afraid, although, but for, I don't know, other people walking right now in Europe, and I'm speaking about right now in Jewish and Israelis, walking in Europe, walking in a state with a proud to be a Jew, it can get murdered or get beaten or even get cursed by someone just because you're Jewish. And this kind of hate is really bad for the entire future, not only the Jewish and the Israeli, but the entire future. We have to stay calm. You have to, again, be a human being and don't judge anyone before you listen to the whole stories.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And Shemtov, thank you so much for coming to Restitch America. The reason I started this podcast is to have conversations like this. And I think this conversation was important and needed to be heard. And I thank you for spending some time with me today. So please,
Stay safe.
for all you listeners out there, please share this and make sure that all your friends see this video and let's get it out there into the world, because I think the messages that we've heard today needed to be heard. So I invite you to do so, and we will come back to you again with regular programming next week on Restitch America. So thank you once again for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.